Good morning, everybody. How are you doing today? I hope that you're doing wonderful. I hope that you've had an amazing weekend full of love and family and lots of enjoyable times. Now, today is Monday, May 18th, and I want to welcome you to a brand new week. We have planned out a series of things. Today, we have some YouTube videos. Tomorrow, on Tuesday, we have Zoom class. On Wednesday, we have Zoom class. On Friday, it's a holiday. We'll see each other again on Friday for Zoom class, all right? So this is our first video of the first thing that we're going to do today. And we're going to see some stuff that's going to be very interesting. So first off, let's begin with our motto. It's a wonderful day to learn something new. Okay, so bearing that in mind, I'm going to switch you off. Okay, let's go into history. Today we have a very interesting history lesson. Okay, now today's May 18th, and last week we saw the beginning part of this. We were at first of the history lesson is always divided into two parts. Last week we saw how the story began, and this week we're going to continue with that. Okay, so let's go ahead and advance into Calleva Atrebatum part 2. All right, so I scanned, of course, the pages from our book, and it's divided into segments so that you can understand it a little bit by little bit, okay? So the first part that we see is the top of page 9, okay? And we're going to start reading here. It says, a question of loyalty. A man from Gaul called Commius fought on Julius Caesar's side when he came to Britain in 55 BC. Okay, now let's see what this Commius person looks like. This is Commius. Okay, this guy right there in the middle. All right, you see him? There we go. And Commius was loyal to Caesar. It means that whatever Caesar did, Commius would follow. No questions asked. Because remember that Julius Caesar was the emperor. And therefore, as the emperor, you are similar to being the king, but the king and the queens are positions that are inherited in lines of family. So you have to be the son of a king or a queen to be the king of a queen, and that continues in times through many, many, many generations. Such as it happens still in this day and age in Great Britain. Great Britain has a queen named Elizabeth II, okay? You'll learn more about her in a few classes, okay? But for her to give the throne to someone, it has to be one of her children. Now, this woman has 3 sons, and she has 2 grandchildren and a bunch of grandchildren, so great-grandchildren. So one of them will be the people who can have the throne as the new king or the new queen. Okay, now let's go back in time. Let's back up and let's see. A man from Gaul called Commius fought on Julius Caesar's side when he came to Britain many years ago in 55 BC, that is before Christ. Now Commius was loyal to Caesar, but the Romans weren't very loyal to him. Now that's an interesting fact that you have to know. In 53 BC, remember that in BC, time comes sort of like from negative to positive. So it goes from big numbers to 0. Okay? So the older numbers were back in time, and the smaller numbers are close to our time. Okay? Now in 53 BC, one of Caesar's army chiefs thought that Commius was planning to overthrow the Romans. You know what overthrow means? Overthrow is when you are part of, let's say, a government. In this case, we're talking about an empire, such as the Roman Empire. You are the ruler, and you rule lots of people in lots of different levels, okay? So you have chiefs, and you have soldiers, and you have this, and you have the other. And those are all leveled, okay? So you go from the bottom level, a higher level, an even higher level, and so many levels until there's only one emperor. In this case, we're talking about Julius Caesar. Now, One of his very high-ranked soldiers, his chief, his army chief, the person who guided his army, thought that there was someone trying to get Julius Caesar's power, and this person was Commius. They thought that Commius was not loyal to Julius Caesar anymore. And when you plan to overthrow, it's like you take over the power. You can only do that in governments that are not king or queens. Okay, so in this case, we're talking about a very long time ago. We have an emperor, Julius Caesar, who everything that he says has to be done, no questions asked. But when some people don't like your decisions, they like to go ahead against you. That's what overthrow means, okay? So, they thought that this army chief thought that Commius was planning to overthrow the Romans, to remove Julius Caesar and take his place or put someone else. So, he tricked Commius into meeting him. He tricked him. He confused him. So let's keep reading on this page number 9. Now, this army chief, very bad person, tried to kill Commius. Now, luckily, Commius managed to escape, to run away, but the problem is that he was badly wounded or very badly hurt from the attempt against his life, okay? Now let's stop here for a moment and think and reflect on this. We have a man, Julius Caesar, who is the emperor, and he rules a lot of people and a lot of people who follow his decisions, okay? Now, when you have that, and you suddenly get the feeling that a person is trying to get your power, and this person, this army chief says, okay, well, you're not going to overpower the emperor. I'm going to kill you. And he did not succeed because he was not able to kill Commius. Do you think Commius would have trusted Caesar after this? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You can't trust someone who thinks that you're going to take over and tries to kill you. Obviously not. So after this, Commius changed his plans. Okay? After this, Commius joined the Gauls. Remember Gaul? Gaul is where it was when the Roman Empire was forming. Gaul was a sector in what is now called in the middle of Europe today. Okay? This is Gaul, and this language of this image is Galli, okay, in French or in Italian. So he went to Gaul and he joined them to fight against Caesar, okay? Because remember that Julius Caesar he wanted to invade Gaul, and he tried a lot until he finally succeeded. But in the meantime, there were a lot of wars and battles and conflicts between Gaul and the Romans. So Commius, since he didn't want to be on Caesar's side anymore, he went to the enemy's side, which was the Gauls. Okay? Now the Gauls, he went there to join the fight against Caesar. All right? Now, the problem is that the Gauls were defeated by the Romans. So Rome and the Roman Empire ended up invading all of that territory, okay? And Commius fled to Britain. You know what fled means? It's not really about flying, because we're talking about a period of time where airplanes were not invented, okay? Big deal here. Airplanes were not invented in this time. So when you say fled, it means that you run away. Okay? So instead of staying there in Gaul and fighting against the Romans and fighting against Caesar, he just did the easy thing and he took off. Took his things and he went to another territory called Britain. He fled to Britain and became the king of a tribe called the Atrebats. Okay? Remember the name of the lesson? Calleva Atrebatum? Well, Atrebats was the tribe that lived in this region. Okay, in this region. Where would we find it? Well, this is a map of England. If you want, I can show you the map of the map of Gaul. This is England here, and down here in the south is where we have the Atrebats over here. Okay, this is the map of the Atrebats. Okay, right now, today, it's called Silchester. All right, today. And that time it was called the Atrebats. Okay, now what happened to Commius? Commius ruled the Atrebats. Remember, he was the king from their capital, Calleva Atrebatum. That's the name of this lesson. So Calleva Atrebatum is the capital of the Atrebats. The next 3 kings who ruled after Commius were all thought to be sons of Commius. That's why they called him a king, because he ruled and he passed his ruling from one generation to the next. So you had to be related by blood to be the next ruler, okay? Is Britain ruled like this today? How do we choose who the next king or queen will be? Now, if you paid attention to the beginning of this lesson, you should have that answer. If you didn't, you can look back in the video, or you can also ask your parents to help you with this lesson, okay? This is something that I'm going to go back to next week, okay? Now, Verica was one of the sons who ruled Calleva, one of Commius' sons, okay? While he was ruling, the Atrebats fought another tribe, and they were defeated, so they lost against another tribe. Now, Verica, what did he do? He went to Rome and asked for help. Remember how Commius had been accused of trying to overthrow Julius Caesar, and someone tried to kill him. His army chief tried to kill him. Now he went to Gaul to fight against the Romans, and he was defeated there. That's when he ran away and he fled to Britain. He became a ruler there, all right, for many years. Now, while he was ruling, when his period finished, he left the throne or the ruling power to his sons. Now, one of his sons was called Verica. Now, Verica, he continued to battle. Remember, at this time, we're talking about a period of time where you fight against the people who were closest to you in order to gain territory. So that's why the Atrebats fought against another tribe, but this time they lost. Now, Verica went to Rome to ask them for their help. Now, this was a huge mistake, very big mistake, because the Romans took this as an excuse to invade Britain. Remember that the Romans had tried, Julius Caesar had tried, but they had failed. And then there were other emperors who tried, but they had failed, and they had sort of left England alone. Now we are at this point where finally the Romans decide to invade Britain one more time. Okay? Now, for this lesson, I do not have a worksheet for you. I just want you to know what the series of events that we have done. Okay? Now, next week, we're going to do a review, okay, of everything that we have seen so far to understand it, and we're going to do an activity on it. Okay? That's going to be in Zoom. It's going to be next week. For now, I just want you to be aware of all the information. I hope that the pictures that I have been showing you have been helpful, and we will discuss this more next week in Zoom class, okay? All right. So I hope you guys have a very good day. Remember that there are a couple of more videos coming up, so stay tuned, and I'll see you tomorrow in Zoom.